Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come experience the beauty that awaits in Scotland. The sweep of wild coastlines, quiet lochs, and untamed landscapes. Fresh cuisine that feels rooted in the land. Come experience the kind of stillness that stays with you long after you leave. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Whether you're packing for a vacation or dressing for a wedding, Nordstrom has head-to-toe looks for wherever summer takes you. From swimwear and bold color to romantic florals and dresses that make an entrance, find the right style for every unforgettable moment. Shop new arrivals from brands you love like Farm Rio, Free People, Vince, Wave, and Stod. Plus free shipping and returns and styling help whenever you need it make it all so easy. Shop now in stores at Nordstrom.com or download the Nordstrom app.
You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
And again, different age for all of us, but women anywhere from late 30s through your 40s, you would expect to start perimenopause during that time. It's considered the final years of our reproductive life, and it's called the second puberty. And when I heard that, that is somehow for me almost what made the most sense. And when I said, that's it, okay. All of these symptoms, all of this kind of seemingly unpredictable craziness that I seem to be feeling. Yes, when I put it into that context, that kind of rings a bell. That rings true to me. Second puberty. I'm Jessica Valant. I'm a physical therapist, women's health expert, and Pilates teacher, and my goal is to help all women feel strong, safe, and secure in their bodies. In this podcast, I'll share expert advice, facts, amazing guests, stories, compassion, and hope to help you meet your body in all seasons of life. Hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. We're talking about something today I find myself talking about a lot, and that's perimenopause. And one of the reasons I talk about it a lot is because it is so important to get this information out so that women don't feel alone who are going through it or who may be going through it soon or who aren't sure what to expect. And this realization came back to me. It does periodically, but this past weekend, we were at a soccer tournament for our son. And so we were at a few soccer games, and I was talking to a few of the moms, and I am 48 years old. And so a couple of the moms I was talking to are just a little bit younger than me, like around 40 or so. And it came up that they were wondering for themselves, is this coming for me? Am I in it now? I'm not quite feeling like myself. And it really came up that they hadn't had someone necessarily to talk to about it yet, or they had questions that they didn't know where to go to with their questions. And I was looking through my resources and podcasts to send some information on, and I realized I didn't have one specific place where I just list out the basics. Like, this is Perimenopause 101. And this is how I come up with a lot of the podcast topics that we have, is simply real life, like out in the real world, talking with people, or in my messages, or just talking with friends and realizing I really want to put that all in one place. So I have a resource for you. So either if you need it, or you can send it on to someone else. So I will have a lot of links below this podcast, because like I said, I do have many resources around this topic. I have one where I talk about my specific journey, and this is from 3 years ago when I kind of realized I was in perimenopause and what I was doing, how I was kind of handling it as I started. We have one specifically about nervous system nourishment and supporting your nervous system, which is huge. We're going to talk about that. I have one about perimenopause and anxiety and how closely related those are. So I will have all of those links below. But like I said, this is a place where you can just get all of that basic information. We're going to talk about what perimenopause is, what causes it, what happens during perimenopause, like what is it kind of defined by, some symptoms that you might feel, and then what to do, like where to put some of your focus. And I'll help prioritize that as well, because it can feel like a lot. It can feel like, okay, I am seeing all over the place all the things I'm supposed to be doing and all the things I'm supposed to be adding. And when do I do that? And how do I do it? And is it too late? Like, have I already missed my window? All of those things. So we will kind of prioritize in categories the things you want to be focusing on. And many of them will be things that you have already been told about or thought about, or you might already be included in or including in your life. So that is one thing. Like, there's a couple things I want to say off the bat. If you feel like you might be entering this time of life, take a deep breath. All right. We're going to take a deep breath together. We're going to walk into this together. You are not alone, first off. Two, yes, it's a normal part of life. And we are lucky in many ways to reach this part of life. It means we are aging. It means we're still here. Also, it's okay to acknowledge that it's a little scary and that it's unknown. All of those are okay things to be feeling. And then really grabbing onto this idea that there are a few things I can do, like not letting yourself get overwhelmed, but realizing what are some things I can do today? What are some things maybe I want to do in 3 months? What are some things maybe I want to be doing in 6 months? Like, again, take that breath and realize, yes, it's important to have kind of some goals in mind and some things you want to start doing today, but don't let yourself feel overwhelmed. Don't let yourself feel that you have to be doing it all today. There is a little bit of time to add it as you can in this season of life. All right. So let's get into it. And I think it's funny. So I have my reading glasses on top of my head. And that is, to me, one of the biggest defining factors of me starting perimenopause was actually needing reading glasses. And I'm putting them on now to read my notes that I have. So that is one way I know I'm in perimenopause. So let me tell you my story just to give you some context. Like I said, I'm 48 years old. I first started noticing symptoms when I was around 44. So it's like 3.5 years ago now. And I didn't know that it was perimenopause by any means right off the bat. I did not know that. I can just look back and say, oh yeah, that's what I was feeling then. So I was coming off a 5-year stretch of having our son, so our second and last baby, having him and nursing for almost 2 years, going into a hysterectomy and prolapse repair from there. Coming off of COVID. So this is just a few years after COVID. So a lot of stress like we all went through during that. And then also some very, very intense stress in family life and taking care of my mother-in-law and sudden deaths in our family. So it was a big 5 years. And I say that because we all, I know, have times like that. And I laugh thinking about it during that time. So about maybe 18 months after my hysterectomy, I decided to have some hormone testing done. I wanted to just see where I was at, like where was my body? Had the hysterectomy affected anything? I worked with a nutritionist on this and had a Dutch test done. And I was talking with her about the results, and she was just going through my symptoms. She was talking to me about symptoms first and going down a list. And she said, "Are you tired?" And I kind of paused, and we both laughed because she was just a little younger than me, but around the same age. We both had young kids, right? So I had young kids at home. It was in the middle of shutdown. So kids were at home. I was staying up really late working every night. The only time I could get work hours in, taking care of elderly parents. Like, yes, of course I'm tired. And so I do want to put all this in perspective for you to know that it's a really interesting time for women, because not only are we going through perimenopause, but typically in this time, this kind of midlife time, many of us are also going through having kids in various age ranges, maybe, elementary school age kids, all the way up through maybe you're a recent empty nester. So you're dealing with all of that. And then many of the times we're the sandwich generation. So we're also taking care of elderly parents. We're caretakers. So it can be hard to know where all these symptoms coming from. And I was like that too. I'm like, yes, of course I'm tired. I'm going through all of these life changes as well. So that's kind of where I was. And my hormones didn't show anything really significant. I mean, there were some indications of some things, but I have a long history of endometriosis, which will change my estrogen as well. So we talked about some supplements that I could do, some lifestyle changes. It was really helpful. And I kind of went on my way. And so with, I would say 18 months and to 24 months after that, I can now, and I could at the time, I put my finger on a couple of symptoms and it came to me, I think I'm in perimenopause. I think that's where I am here. So for me, the main symptoms, like the first ones that were indications to me, were vision changes. That's why I laugh about glasses. So I've worn contacts my entire life. And really for the past probably 10 years, my prescription has been pretty darn stable. And suddenly my vision was changing. I could tell it was harder to read things close up. It was different seeing things far away. I went to the eye doctor and my prescription had changed and it hadn't in a long time. And I suddenly needed readers. Even so now I wear contacts and I have readers and my prescriptions changed and all the things. So that was one big indication for me because my vision hadn't changed in years and years and years. Second was hair changes. So like my hair was breaking more easily and it was starting to thin, it felt like. So that was another. And then for me, the third one was I had put on 5 pounds and it wasn't going away. And I want to really point out that you have to know your body to know what things might be changing and adjusting. Because for me, like I said, the being really tired and some brain fog, that wasn't a really big red flag or indicator because of the season of life I was in. I mean, I had been tired for years. So it wasn't anything new that I wasn't sleeping great and that I was tired. The 5 pounds, though, for me was, and it's not that I hadn't gained, I had absolutely fluctuated in weight during my life, 100%. But typically when it happened, I could put my finger on why, and it would come off like fairly easily if I put my strategies back into place. So it felt more manageable to me. Like I could, okay, yep, that's why it came on, no big deal. And again, I could put my healthy strategies into place and have it come back, and I would fluctuate that 5 pounds. It came on kind of out of the blue. I thought, that's a little new and different. And it's not even that I was weighing myself. I could just tell my clothes suddenly fit different. And it wasn't changing. That wasn't fluctuating no matter what strategies I used. So it was those 3 things for me. But this is where it's really important, if you haven't taken time to do all the things we talk about here, like getting to know your body, meeting your body where it is, partnering with your body, all of that, it's really important that you kind of take some intentional time to do that, because only you know if a symptom is new and kind of strange to you or if it's not. So that's what it was for me. And again, for many of you, it will be a change of periods, and we'll talk about that. For me, having a hysterectomy, I couldn't use that as a signal or a symptom. I do still have one ovary, so I still cycle, but it's kind of all over the place. And so that wasn't a really easy indicator for me. So that's what it was for me. Those were my indicators. And then I committed at that point to getting to know my body in this new phase, that I wanted to learn everything I could about it, about perimenopause, what it meant, really paying attention to symptoms so that I could try to feel my best through this phase. So that's my history. That's the context. And yes, I'm smack dab in the middle of it right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about what it is. Like scientifically, anatomically, physiologically, what is perimenopause? Science tells us that perimenopause is the time before you enter menopause. And I know that seems obvious, but that is literally what it is. It's the time before you enter menopause, before the menopausal transition. Okay, and it could start anywhere from 5 to 12 years before the menopausal transition. So the definition of menopause is 12 months without a period or without a cycle. Once you have gone 12 months, and you have to go the full 12 months, it's not like you've gone 6 months. Once you've gone the full 12 months without a cycle, Like that moment is the menopausal transition, and you are then postmenopausal. That is actually how it works. You go 12 months, you're in perimenopause that whole time. But once you've reached that 12 months without a period or without a cycle, then science and medicine tells us that we're postmenopausal, and that's where we are as women. But the perimenopause time can last up to 12 years beforehand. Okay, so we are talking through the majority of our 40s for many of us, even into early 50s. We don't know, you cannot predict when a certain woman will go through perimenopause and the menopausal transition. But your genetics and your history is a big indicator. So if you aren't sure if your mom is still around or still with you, if you have communication with your mom, that might be something to ask just to find out some family history on how old she was, how the transition was for her. That'll give you some information, but it is hard to predict. So that's again why you want to kind of know your body, maybe predict, be writing down your cycles, start to check when they might be changing. But that's the definition of it. And again, different age for all of us, but women anywhere from late 30s through your 40s, you would expect to start perimenopause during that time. It's considered the final years of our reproductive life, and it's called the second puberty. And when I heard that is somehow for me almost what made the most sense. And when I said, oh, that's it. Okay. All of these symptoms, all of this kind of seemingly unpredictable craziness that I seem to be feeling. Yes, when I put it into that context, that kind of rings a bell. That rings true to me, second puberty. So what happens physiologically is that our hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, all decrease. All right. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, those are the three major reproductive hormones we were going to be talking about that affect how you feel during this time. And they all start to decrease. And that's why it's called the second puberty, because your puberty, when you go through puberty as an adolescent girl, those hormones all increase, right? So they increase to make you fertile, to lead into your reproductive years, I should say. That's a better way to say it. They increase to lead you into your reproductive years. Then you kind of stay at a certain level, in theory, throughout those reproductive years, and then they start to decrease to take us out of our reproductive years. So this is something important to know, though, that isn't talked about a lot, that really explains why perimenopause can feel very unpredictable, is that progesterone and testosterone decrease linearly. So they start at one level, and it's a fairly predictable decrease until you reach kind of that postmenopausal state. It's a straight line down, right? And I don't mean a vertical drop. I just mean there's not like ups and downs. If you look at a chart, it is kind of a straight, gradual line down, and they decrease at the same rate. Estrogen, my friends, does not do that. Estrogen does decrease, right? It's going to be fairly low once we reach that postmenopausal place. But it is not a linear decrease. It'll decrease a little, and then it'll jump up, and it'll go back down, and it'll jump up and down, and it jumps all over the place, which is what leads to it feeling like a second puberty. That is what leads to many of the kind of confusing things you feel, that you suddenly think, oh my gosh, am I 12 again? Like breast tenderness, your period suddenly getting really heavy, or even shorter times between periods, headaches, cramps, all of those kind of things. That actually is more about that decrease of estrogen, because when the estrogen increases, but the progesterone is going down, there's just a bigger difference between estrogen and progesterone. And people throw around the term estrogen dominance, and I am not going to do it here. That is for another podcast and another discussion. But just keep in mind, I don't use that term lightly, or I don't use it flippantly, because it is thrown around a lot inaccurately. So don't assume your symptoms tell you that you're in a state called estrogen dominance. That's not what I'm saying. I am just saying that the way estrogen decreases is not the same as progesterone and testosterone. So many of your symptoms are going to feel that way, that unpredictable. like volatile almost. And it's because of that, because it go up, down, and it does that as it decreases over time. I also have an entire podcast actually about endometriosis and aging, because that's been a really interesting one for me. So endometriosis is an estrogen dominant disease that I do have, and I know many of you listening do. And that was a big aha moment for me when I realized, I was like, why do I feel so bad? Why does my endo feel like it's suddenly going crazy when it has been at a manageable place for a while? It is because of that. It's because of perimenopause. Because of the estrogen spiking up, it actually makes my endometriosis symptoms worse during perimenopause. I know. So fun, right? Isn't that fun? And that's okay. Knowledge is power to me because it sets my expectations and it helps me know how to manage it. So I have personally put a lot of intention and purpose into going back to some of my endometriosis management skills that I didn't need for a while because it felt like it was at a more manageable place. So that's why just, again, knowing your body, understanding how you're feeling is so important. So that is what happens with your hormones, all right? The thing is, estrogen affects almost every system in your body. I mean, it is amazing to me, even as a healthcare professional who's done this for a long time, as a certified women's health expert. It is truly amazing to me the more I find out what estrogen does and how it really affects every system almost in our body. So many of the symptoms you will feel during perimenopause are directly linked to the decreased estrogen happening. Progesterone and testosterone also, yes, I am not discounting those, but many of this comes back to estrogen specifically. So let's talk about symptoms and what you might feel, like what you might just want to be looking for. I'm going to say the first one, and maybe one of the biggest, is that women typically just say, I don't feel like myself. Like that's really what will come out. I don't feel like myself. Don't discount that, okay? Don't let anyone brush it off. Don't let anyone gaslight you about it. That's important information. And yes, you want to qualify it with, do I have other lifestyle things happening? Like I said, are my kids suddenly leaving? Am I suddenly an empty nester? Have we made a big move? Did I need to move my parents into a different home? Like a lot. Of course, that affects how you're feeling, but you know yourself. Are you suddenly not feeling like yourself? For me, one indicator is throughout the process, and it's gone up and down, have lost motivation. I did for a while, and luckily it's back now because I realized it, but lost motivation for a lot of like work projects. So I could do my daily work, but the excitement I had for planning new things, any kind of idea of sitting down and planning out the month, which if you know me, like that's one of my favorite things, to get all my highlighters out and color code things and plan the year and plan the month. I love that. And I suddenly lost all motivation for it. Like it felt like a slog, like moving through mud to make myself sit down with my planner or create a to-do list. That's not like me. So that was one big thing. Like that is not like me at all. So you just don't feel like yourself. So other symptoms that are really common, night sweat, and I'm going to just go through this list, okay? And it's a big one. Night sweats, hot flashes. Hot flashes is one of the most common symptoms, and not everyone gets them, but it is one of the most common. But I like to also have a little caveat here. I feel, and this is maybe just my experience, being kind of a Gen X kid with a baby boomer mom, that this wasn't talked about. We just knew there was something called the change, but nobody talked about what it was or what's going on. But hot flashes is one I always heard about. Like I really thought, probably as a kid, if you had asked me, I just would have said, oh yeah, women just have hot flashes. I just thought that was what you had. Like that was it. So please know that is one of a myriad of symptoms that you might feel. And not everyone has them. Not everyone has them at all, but hot flashes is a big one. Hot flashes, night sweats, fatigue, just overall, not just being tired, but that like I need to take a nap in the afternoon, or I am just so tired. I don't know if I can get my workout done like I usually can. That increased fatigue where you used to feel like you could tap into an extra well of energy when you needed it. Like it feels like that well is dry. Like I can't find that extra oomph that I used to be able to find. Increased sweating and smelling. I know it's a fun one, huh? But it's there. Increased sweating and smelling. Anxiety. Like I said, I have a whole podcast about that. That personally has been one of my biggest symptoms. And I was kind of a little bit of an anxious person beforehand, so that might be why. But anxiety, depression, brain fog, anger, rage, weight gain, irregular periods. So maybe you've been regular for as long as you can remember, and suddenly they are all over the place. I mean, I even read a story recently of a woman who she hadn't had a period for months and months, and the doctors had done her blood work and her panels and declared her in postmenopause. And she went on HRT, which ended up like leveling out her hormones, and she started her period again. Now, again, I'm just saying that kind of as I did not do a deep dive into this story whatsoever. I'm sure there's a lot of caveats to that story, but it's just to tell you that, yeah, don't be surprised if you are irregular and all over the place with your cycles and with your periods. I mean, these are the stories of women not having a period for 8 months and then suddenly getting pregnant, right? We've all heard that because you think, oh, I'm done. Here I am. But nope, your body will surprise you. It's irregular, unpredictable. I keep going back to that, but that's what this is. Decreased libido, vaginal dryness, itching. Like that's a really common one, actually, itching and hives, like rashes that you didn't have before. So a lot of skin kind of changes. Trouble sleeping, decreased ability to deal with stress. That's another big one. So estrogen is like oil, like nourishment to your nervous system. So when you lose estrogen, you actually have a decreased ability to deal with the stress around you. So a stressor that might not have bothered you before, that you could easily deal with before, suddenly sets you off. You're like, that's the last straw, when before it wouldn't have been the last straw. You're more sensitive to the stressors around you. And that is actually decreased estrogen affecting your HPA axis and your nervous system. So like I said, all of that due to decreased estrogen. And I really like to point out, as I've said before, that we are all different. We don't all fit in to the same paradigm. I have found for myself that the symptoms I've felt during perimenopause tend to kind of play on the things that I already was having to manage. Meaning, like I told you, I was already a little bit of an anxious person. Like that's something I already needed to work on. Perimenopause, like kind of kicked that in the rear and kicked it back into gear for me. Things like my skin. So I have psoriasis. I had all of my management techniques in play. And then perimenopause came and suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm in a flare. That's interesting. It's different. Same with endometriosis. So that's not going to fit for everyone across the board. But I do think that's something you can look at. For me, again, joint pain was a big one. That plays into my hypermobility and my endometriosis. That's been a big issue for me with perimenopause that I am constantly working on, is my muscle recovery, my workout recovery, joint pain. I personally, knock on wood, and maybe I shouldn't even say it out loud, but I have not had a single hot flash. And yet my temperature definitely has increased. I mean, I have historically been freezing all the time. I have very low blood pressure. I'm very cold all the time. I suddenly am not. Like I am the one in our family at night. Let's say we've watched a movie and snuggled under a blanket. I am so hot, I will step outside to cool down. It's not a hot flash, but I definitely am running hotter than I used to. So look at your body. Make sure you know your body. Make sure that you, even if you haven't done this work to kind of be a partner with your body and be connected to your body, take a moment, write some things down. Like, what does my sleep typically look like? Or what does my temperature typically look like? Or like, what is baseline for me? That will just help you know when things start to change. All right. So that gives you that piece of it. We are going to next get into what to do about it. Let's prioritize it. I'm going to make it really actionable for you. What are some steps that you want to be taking once you think you might be at the beginning of perimenopause and kind of working through it? And first, a quick word from our sponsors. I don't think ever in my life I have talked about bras more than I have in the past month. And that is because I've been introduced to Honeylove. You guys have heard me talk about it. I not only love their crossover bra, but now I also have their cross flex bra, which is meant more for activity and workouts. And it's just as great. So we are talking comfort. It's like a second skin. So it's really smooth. You can wear any shirt, tank top, sweater over it. You won't see the lines. No underwire. So it's extremely comfortable, even on my post-mastectomy body. And it works throughout the day. Not only that, but you will feel feminine while wearing it, which I can say can be really hard sometimes to find both a functional bra and one that makes you feel feminine and good. I am so thankful that I have been introduced to Honeylove. They not only have bras, but they have panties, they have underwear, they have shapewear, you name it. It's a company that I love and trust. Treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. Use our exclusive link to save 20% off Honeylove at honeylove.com/meetyourbody. That's honeylove.com/meetyourbody. After you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Experience the new standard in comfort and support with Honeylove. So yes, I like to cook for our family to make sure that I am giving them the best ingredients that I can and trying to balance protein and veggies and fruit along with everything else that our kids love to eat on the side. The thing is, it doesn't always happen. I feel like between work and driving and all the things we need to do, half of my time could be taken up with meal prep and grabbing groceries. And sometimes I just drop the ball on that. This is where Factor Meals comes into play. Factor Meals are delivered straight to your doorstep. They are fresh, never frozen, and they have meals for everybody. We are talking vegetarian, keto, protein heavy, anything that you want right to your door. Not only that, but I recently tried the Factor Meals protein shakes. They are delicious. I'm telling you, try the vanilla ones. You will not be disappointed. So you can head to factormeals.com/meetyourbody50 off and use code meetyourbody50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See the website for more details.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
And now back to our show. All right, here we go. My list for you of things to do once you think you might be in or entering perimenopause. Number one, don't freak out. This is normal. It is a normal physiological process. You are one of millions and millions and millions of women going through perimenopause. Your body is still your own. And I know I say this kind of with a little bit of laughter and lightness, but I also am 100% validating that this is a time of evolution for us. This is a time of change. I am acutely aware that this is a time that tells me that I am entering the second half of my life. And there are a lot of emotions that can go with that. A lot of questions, a lot of searching, a lot of wondering. There is a lot, okay? It can be a lot. So I say it lightheartedly, but I also say it with absolute deep knowing and truth that this can be a really powerful time in your life if you kind of open yourself up to that change. If you open yourself up to possibilities, and if you meet your body where it is right now instead of trying to fight it. So I want you to take that breath we talked about. I want you to realize that this is normal and you can be even stronger and more empowered and more connected than you were before. Number 2, don't go through this alone. Start following possibly accounts online. If that's where you spend some time, make sure that you are following trusted accounts, either trusted medical and healthcare accounts, or at least really positive accounts about aging. And we are talking real. You have to be careful now. It is amazing the AI images that I have seen out there. Find real people, real healthcare professionals who are willing to talk about this with positivity, with empowerment. Talk to your friends. That was vital for me. I can't even tell you how important it was to just know my friends were going through the same thing. The women in my life. It has been like a breath of fresh air to just know I am not aging alone. I am aging with my friends, but not only that, I am aging with some people I have a lot of respect for. And I am with some of them on the journey. Some of them are behind me because they're a little bit younger. And then some have gone before me. And I can say, oh my gosh, how are you doing this? Because I have so much respect for you. I am so glad that you're leading the way. So create kind of that trusted community around you is really important. And then also talk to your doctor. And you don't necessarily need to right away. All right. But when you're ready, make sure that you do have a healthcare professional on your team. That might be your OBGYN. It might be a functional medicine doctor. It might be a registered nutritionist. It might be your oncologist. For me, that was one of my first talks, was actually talking to my oncologist about what my options were and where I should go next. There are online options, some amazing online options, and we're going to talk about that towards the end. But I do think it's really important that you have someone who can walk with you and who can help you kind of piece out what pieces you might want to focus on, what pieces you can wait on, what are important to you right now. And if you have someone who says, oh, you're only 41, there's no way that's perimenopause. Or, oh, you're just tired, you just need to go have a nap. Or, and yes, this happens all the time, you have low libido, just have a glass of wine and relax. If you ever hear those words, you walk away and you find someone else. Okay? This is something you deserve to be heard and seen about. All right, so after those 2 things are done, next, do an assessment on your current own habits. This doesn't have to take long, and please do it in a judgment-free zone. You are not going to take any time right now to get upset or mad at yourself that you haven't been lifting weights for the past 5 years, or that your eating habits haven't been what you've wanted them to be, or that you have increased stress that you haven't dealt with. That's not what this is about. This is about what can we do going forward. So with no judgment, just with that curiosity, all right, what are my current habits? And you're going to write it down and go through exercise. And again, this isn't it. You're not judging yourself, okay? You're just writing down what are you currently doing? Because only when you know what you're currently doing can you know what to change. What are you currently doing for exercise? What does your current eating look like? Just things like, do I have breakfast? Do I not? Do I skip it? Do I tend to get most things on the go? Am I eating late at night? Am I pretty good about protein? Those kind of things. Write it down. Stress. Where's your stress at? General lifestyle, sleep, alcohol habits, community and social life, Okay, those are your main categories you're going to write down and do that assessment for yourself. You want to know where you can make some changes, and then where is a really good foundation that you've built that's worked for you that you want to build on. This shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. All right. Then now let's go through each of those categories, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they probably should look like to really support the perimenopause time in your life. Keeping in mind, we're all a little bit different. So for exercise, there's really 2 categories you want to look at. One is what I call your structured exercise. And this is your movement routine. Let's say 5 days a week would be great. You need to be lifting weights a minimum of 2 times per week. That's what you have to do for your muscle mass. You have to do it for your bone health. You have to do it for your metabolic health. You have to do it for your brain health. It is an absolute requirement. Lift your weights 2 times a week. And if you aren't sure what that looks like, if you're new to exercise or you're new here, I'll have a link below on how to set this up. Home workouts and everything. Okay, don't make it complicated. You need to be doing that structured exercise minimum of 2 times a week for lifting weights. And then you want to be doing some Pilates in there, some mobility, some cardio. And again, I have a whole podcast about what that looks like. And then in addition to the structured movements, we have something called NEAT activity. That's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. What that means is that your body will continue to respond well. It will continue to improve its metabolic health, which is your ability to use the food you eat as energy. Okay, that includes your ability to lose weight, your ability to distribute the fat throughout your body so it's not just on your abdomen, because that happens actually as we get older. Decreased estrogen will affect that. So that's metabolic health. So increased movement throughout the day, things just as walking, parking far away to walk to the store, making sure that, doing your housework, cooking, gardening, hiking, all of those things. It's just the activity that you have during the day outside of your workouts. Super important to keep that up. So those are the 2 pieces to movement. Next is eating and nourishment. And I really like to call it nourishment for your body because I want to get you out of the diet mind frame. All right? Doesn't matter what your weight is right now. I do not want you leaning back to that toxic diet culture mentality. It will not serve your body in this phase of life. It just will not. Instead, think of how can I nourish myself? Are you eating breakfast? That's really important. And I don't mean the granola bar out the door. I mean, can you feed yourself some protein and some nourishing food in the morning? And it can be going out the door. I eat going out the door half the time when I'm taking the kids to school, but I get up 5 minutes early and I pack a breakfast to eat after I drop them off at school. I sit in the car and I eat it before my workout. Sometimes it's oats and oatmeal. Sometimes it's yogurt with some nuts and berries. Really important, though, to nourish your body. So are you eating breakfast? Are you eating protein? Are you getting your fiber? Are you eating your fruits and your veggies? What does that look like for you? So really important to look at that. Protein, fiber, lots of whole foods. And then I am going to throw in alcohol here. I am not here to tell you whether drinking alcohol is right for you or not. I'm here to give you the scientific facts. And that is that we do not process alcohol as well as we get older. We don't tend to respond really well to it in perimenopause. And so you might be able to find a way to still incorporate it in your life just with that awareness. And that's been a big one for me. It's just the awareness that I do not respond to it like I used to. I mean, I'll get immediate headaches. I don't sleep as well. So it's just a matter of, is it a habit? Am I doing it out of habit? And if so, I need to change it. Or am I making an intentional choice that, oh my gosh, today, yes, we're going out with friends to celebrate something. I'm going to have a glass of champagne with them at 5 o'clock. Then I can go home and have a meal after. So my blood sugar won't crash. It won't affect my sleep. Like it's just a different set of choices to support my body and how I feel right now. But alcohol does need to be a part of your personal choices and intention right now, because it does change as we get older. Lifestyle and stress is the next, the next category. I would say of all of these, one of the top things you need to do is nourish your nervous system and get yourself out of chronic stress and burnout. You cannot out exercise, out diet, out supplement, out green juice a burned out, chronic stressed, dysregulated nervous system. Like nothing else you do on top of it is going to hold. It's like building a building on top of a crumbling foundation. It truly just won't work. You have to make it almost your top priority. And that might take time. For me, it was a 2-year journey. When I told you about my experience at the beginning of this podcast with coming out of COVID and deaths in our family and taking care of our mother-in-law, I was in major chronic stress. It was an 18-month intentional process to get myself out of it. And I continue to make choices every day to make sure I don't go back to that place. So really important. And for you, that might look like different things. It might be your social media use. Like, do you need to get off your phone? Do you need to put it down at night before you go to sleep? Do you need to look at some relationships in your life? Do you need to look at, are you working really late at night? There's a lot of different pieces to it, and it's different for all of us, but really important that you take time to look at your nervous system, your chronic stress, and your burnout. Next is sleep. And sleep can go with that a little bit, but sleep actually needs to be its own category as well. And this is, I know this can be hard because, as we talked about, decreased sleep and interrupted sleep is actually a major symptom in perimenopause. So then if you're that person and I'm sitting here telling you got to work on your sleep, and then you say, well, I try and it makes me more stressed because I'm trying and I can't sleep, I know it can be a cycle, okay? So again, we're validating that and we are acknowledging that it can be a cycle with stress, sleep, all of those things. So when I say look at sleep specifically kind of on its own as a separate category, I mean look at things such as, are you on your phone or watching TV? Are you listening to true crime podcasts right up until the moment you turn the light off and try to go to sleep? Right? Are you drinking a ton of water or eating really late at night so that you're getting up to pee a lot, or so your blood sugar drops in the middle of the night, which then wakes you up, which can happen actually if you eat really late at night? Those kind of things. Are you just staying up until 1 a.m. out of habit, and then you get kind of not great sleep and you have to wake up early in the morning? Is your circadian rhythm off? Those are the kind of things that you can look at and be really purposeful about. For me, it was making a choice, which is hard sometimes, to go to bed at night when I need to, even though my husband can stay up later because he doesn't need as much sleep as I do. So he'll stay up later and watch a show. And there are times I want to stay on the couch and watch a show with him because that's some of the rare time that we get together. And there are times I choose to do that because that's actually more important than me getting sleep that night. But overall, I need to choose the sleep. My health is better. I am better. I'm a better person the next day. I can focus better, all of it. So it's being intentional with those choices, but sleep hygiene is part of it. The next one, and we touched on this at the beginning, but find positive stories and positive role models. I have heard my entire life as a physical therapist from older clients. Getting older is horrible. Like that's what I hear. I mean, word for word. I hear that message. I hear those words. And I'm not here to say it's easy, and I haven't done it. And so I'm not going to discount that. And also, I don't want to surround myself with accounts and messages and people who are living that, because that doesn't help me. It doesn't help me as a woman going through this, and it doesn't help me serving other people. So I want honesty. I want to know really, how is this hard? Tell me the challenges. Tell me what to expect. And also, I want to hear from people who are finding more wisdom, who are finding more empowerment, who found new habits, who found new relationships to really dive into new fun joys to have. Like, that's what I want to see and be a part of. I don't want to discount the realities, but I need to know the good stuff that's left to come too. That is really important. So find positive role models, find those positive stories that you can be a part of, that you can watch, that you can hear, find trusted sources, you can ask your questions. The next is mindset. And this goes kind of to the beginning. We talked about this when we mentioned, yes, it's a change happening that we need to acknowledge and sit with. But it's really important to come to a place of, I think acceptance is probably some of it, but it's more than that. For me, I just keep coming back to, I am so grateful to be here. Because it might sound cliche, but what's the alternative? The alternative is that I'm not here. And I am. I am here with kids I get to watch grow up, with a body that still moves. I'm going to go on a trail run later. Does it feel like it used to? No, it does not. Do I have to really be aware of my pelvic floor? And do I have to do extra stretches afterwards and recovery and things that other people don't have to do? Yeah, I do. If I run more than once a week, will I leak pee? Yes. Okay. All of that is reality. But guess what? I can manage those things if it means I get out on the trails for an hour this afternoon with music I love, in the sun, in nature, that fills my heart. And that's what I choose to focus on, is what can I do going forward? Like, what does my my husband and I's relationship look like now that we've been together for, multiple decades? Now that we're raising kids together, like, what does that look like? How can we age together with goals that we might have? How can I pass some of this on to our daughter? What are some new joys? I mean, I just started skiing last year as a 47-year-old recovering from breast cancer. But I'm like, I'm going to try. Now's the time to try it, because otherwise I'm going to get through life and wonder if I could have. That is the mindset that I'm going at it, with also the realization that, yeah, I'm getting older and it's unknown. And there are times that it's scary, and I'm not going to ignore that. But I'm going to supersede it with, man, I am so honored and so grateful to be here and be able to do this. And then the last step, the last piece that you can kind of consider throughout all this is hormones tested in HRT. And there's a reason that I say it last. And it's not because it's the least important necessarily. It's because it can sometimes, in this day and age, with all the messages we get, it can feel like it should be the first thing. Like, the very first thing I'm going to do is get on estrogen. I'm going to get on HRT. That'll fix it all. And that just isn't how it works. And any good doctor should tell you that too. Any good medical professional you work with, even if they are recommending HRT, which definitely has its benefits, they should also be talking to you about how to exercise, how to eat to nourish your body, sleep, nervous system support, stress relief. They should be talking to you about all of that, community support. This is just one spoke on the wheel. It's not the center of the wheel. It's one of many spokes. We talked about having that foundation, and that's the same for this. You still need that strong foundation, and then HRT can be a part of the piece on top of it. So let's talk about that real quick and what that looks like. You have options here. So you can see a doctor, your OB, you can see your PCP, you can see a functional medicine doctor. Insurance sometimes covers it. You can choose to pay out of pocket. You have options. And you can have blood work done and a blood panel done. One thing I want you to keep in mind, there are times that you will say, I do not feel like myself. I know I'm not crazy. These symptoms are all here. I have increased anxiety. I have vaginal dryness. I have pain with sex. It's decreasing my quality of life. I'm having night sweats, all of these things, right? You will have symptoms. And your blood work might come back, your hormone panel might come back and show you in the normal range, which I'm saying with air quotes, because the normal range is very, very big. And you might be on the low end, but a doctor could look at that and say, oh, you still fit in the normal range. Well, what we aren't talking about there is nuance and symptoms and how you feel and how for you that might not be normal. Like maybe you were actually on the high range your whole life and that was normal for you and now suddenly you're on the low range. Well, that's a big difference. So it's important to really look at blood work and levels with nuance. And that is why, and I'm not necessarily promoting this. I am just letting you know that there are some healthcare professionals out there who work with women, who I have a lot of respect for, who don't always do the hormone testing first. They'll actually go off of symptoms first. And so it depends on who you're working with, but just know that I think blood work is important to understand if something is helping, especially if you have a health history. Like I have a health history of breast cancer and endometriosis. I'm a more complicated case. I like to have the blood work. I like to have numbers. I also know that's not the end all be all. It matters most how you feel and your symptoms. So I say all that to say, if you're working with someone, make sure you're working with someone who kind of understands the importance of both and will explain to you what your numbers mean, why they're using blood work or not using it, when they want to retest, all of those things. And then you can make a decision together on whether HRT, hormone replacement therapy, which typically is estrogen, progesterone, and or testosterone. You can make a decision together if that's appropriate for you. And if you don't have someone in person that you can talk to, if you're not comfortable, if you live in a rural environment, if you just can't get to see a doctor, there are some really good online resources right now that can be a jump off point for you. I personally like Joy and Blokes as one. It's JOI and BLOKES. The reason is they will find out where you live. I mean, you'll tell them where you live. They will pair you with a licensed healthcare professional in that state, and you do telehealth with them. They will order blood work to be done, and you can have that online appointment to decide what the next steps might be. So it's just a nice option. Again, I don't know if it always works great if you have a complicated health history, but it's a great starting point. But insurance doesn't cover it. So that is something to keep in mind. But there are options for talking with doctors about all this. And that wraps it up. That is it. I know Perimenopause 101, you feel like, oh, that'll be in and out. No, we talked for an hour and that was like the tip of the iceberg, but it gives you a starting point. Hopefully helps you know what to expect, what to look for, how to know yourself, some steps to put into place. Like I said, I will have more links below for anything you need. If you're looking for workouts specifically to support this time in life, if you want to be able to do them at home, if you want to be told like the priority workouts to do on a daily basis to support yourself during perimenopause, check out my Unlimited app. We have daily workouts, we have fitness programs, and we do all of that. We have the weightlifting that you need, the Pilates you need, the mobility, the cardio to fit right into those needs as an aging woman. So I'll have the link for that below as well. So thanks as always for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening today. I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It means a lot to us and it helps our content get out to more women who need it. You can find more of my resources at my website, jessicavalant.com, or find me on YouTube at Jessica Valant and Instagram at Jessica S. Valant.